Hello, everyone. A very warm welcome to you all on this fine day. I'm pleased to welcome you to the final virtual session of the Women in Product Summit 2024. The Women in Product Summit, hosted by the Product Leaders Forum in partnership with the Institute of Product Leadership, has presented a dynamic platform where we can all share our journeys, exchange insights, and acquire wisdom from some extraordinary leaders and feel inspired to push boundaries collectively. The summit's mission is to challenge conventional leadership norms, awaken your inner potential, and shape a future that resonates with your ambitions. I'm Harleen, your host for this session. The summit has consisted of 3 weeks of immersive online sessions until this one, which will be the last session of the online series. And we will end with the grand finale of the in person conference on the 7th of April in CMRIT, Bangalore. We've been hearing from an array of inspirational women from all walks of life during the online sessions, just like we will today, all of which will culminate into a one of a kind experience at our in person conference. We are here today for this session where our esteemed speakers, Ms. Divya and Ms. Debleena, will be having a conversation and sharing their entrepreneurial journeys. The cherry on top of this entire series and the summit, as I mentioned, is the in person conference, which will take place on the 7th of April, which is this Sunday. Our featured speakers, some of whom who are visible on your screen, we have many more. They will all be sharing actionable perspectives on careers, products, and current challenges. The day promises to be power packed and a unique experience that is designed to equip professionals with essential tools and knowledge for excellence in the professional landscape. You can find the link to the website for the conference in the chat window. Make sure to register quickly to secure your spot at this exclusive conference and be part of a supportive, ever growing community. That was a little overview about the summit and its mission. Before I start today's insightful session, I'd like to give you a quick introduction to the host of the summit, the Product Leaders Forum. The Product Leaders Forum is a volunteer powered non-profit organization that is crafted by practitioners for practitioners. With a global footprint encompassing chapters in Bangalore, Pune, Hyderabad, and Silicon Valley, it's a movement that is dedicated to product leadership. The forum's mission is to cultivate a vital and distinctive platform for product leaders worldwide. Through fostering diverse viewpoints and rich dialogues on product thinking, the forum aims to catalyze mindset shifts, unlock profound insights, and offer hands on learning opportunities to enhance skills and foster peer to peer networks for continuous learning. You can find out more about the forum by scanning the QR code on the screen. The summit is being organized by the Product Leaders Forum in partnership with the Institute of Product Leadership. The Institute of Product Leadership is Asia's first business school providing accredited degree programs and certification courses in product management, product leadership, data science, design, strategy, and leadership. The institute has partnered with multiple universities and was founded in 2012 with the singular mission of creating 10,000 product leaders in the country. Ever since, the Institute has designed and delivered programs in collaboration with various institutes, universities, and corporates to the senior working professionals to help them make career transitions into product leadership. The Institute has built and developed a community of over 3,700 plus successful alumni leading the product, data, and design teams across the world. We're also knowledge partners for 250 plus organizations worldwide. You can find out more about the Institute and the programs offered on our website. You can find the link for the same in the chat window. Today's session is on navigating the entrepreneurial journey, where our speakers will share their journeys and insights on getting started as entrepreneurs. Once our speakers have finished presenting their insights, we will open up for questions. You can keep your questions ready and post them on the Q&A section in Zoom. This session is being streamed live on LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. So, viewers on any of these channels, please feel free to post your questions in the comment section and we'll share them with the speakers. In addition to having the dedicated Q&A, here is some exciting news for all our attendees tonight. You have an opportunity to win a free digital course. As we will open up for Q&A after the speakers are done presenting their insights and sharing their journeys, the best asked question chosen by the speakers will get this reward of the digital learning course offered by the Institute of Product Leadership. You can find a link in the chat to check out the array of digital learning courses offered by the Institute. The new age skill courses offered by the Institute are for every step of your career, and they have been built, curated, and designed by industry practitioners. The winner will get to pick their choice of course as their reward. So don't miss out on this opportunity, everyone. Not only do you get to engage with our distinguished speakers, you also stand a chance to win a digital learning course. Okay, without further ado, I'd like to kickstart this session by introducing and welcoming our first distinguished speaker for today, Ms. Divya Iyer. With 13 years of experience at Bosch, Divya started as an engineer to move on to now being the manager of system engineering platform. Having worked on interesting automotive systems over the years, led her to pursue an Master's of Science in Engineering Management from the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, better known as MIT. As a mom of two kids, she realized that there was a vacuum in getting the right content needed for Indian cultural parenting, which led to her building Monki Tox. Her desire was to create content for kids to help them stay connected to their cultural roots. As a learner for life, Divya constantly seeks new learning and teaching opportunities. So pleased to welcome you to this session, Divya. Okay. Our second distinguished speaker for today is Ms. Debleena Majumdar. Debleena is the co-founder of Kahaniyah, a platform which utilizes storytelling to streamline strategy. With over 2 decades of leadership experience in strategy and finance, she is also an accomplished author with published works spanning history and finance. Debleena seeks innovative ways for self expression and learning, whether through crafting melodies or weaving narratives. Her aim is to not only merely success, but to add value driven by thorough research and analysis. She persistently dreams, absorbs, shares knowledge, and embraces continuous learning. So pleased to welcome you as well, Debleena.
Thank you so
It's
much.
great to have you both here with us today. I'd also like to introduce and welcome our facilitator for today's session, Ms. Seema Patil. Seema is currently a product manager at Cognizant's BFSI consulting practice, and she comes with over a decade and a half years of experience in the IT industry. Pleased to welcome you as well, Seema. Um, I will now hand over the session to you all.
Thank you, Arlene. Yeah, Divya, Debleena, it was pleasure uh, having a conversation with you. So I would like to start with you both have started the career in corporate and moved on to entrepreneurial journey. So what was that calling or inspiration made you to move on to entrepreneurial journey?
Maybe
Divya,
you
can
can
you?
go, Katrina.
Okay, I'll do that. And you can add Divya. So yeah, I think for me, growing up, I love both numbers and stories. I was torn between both, and when it came to choosing a career, I went with numbers. So as Halil mentioned, I worked with finance and strategy for a long time. So I was really, really working with numbers. and telling stories with numbers. So my roles were all investment banking, investment management, venture capital. Those were the roles I was working in, right? But at the other side of my brain, I was, during my weekends, I was writing, I was singing, and I felt that these two parts of my brain are different and they can't meet. And it was, I think, sometime in after I'd spent a significant amount of time working that I realized that people are reaching out to me for help with their narratives. So a lot of entrepreneurs, when I was in an investment role, entrepreneurs reached out to me with help with their, kind of pitches. A lot of business leaders reached out to me with help and they were preparing strategy decks. So I didn't realize it, but I was already building my skills in what I now call Kahaniyah. So it was, I think, probably not planned. It was accidental, like many things are in life. But the skill was something I've probably been building unconsciously over the years. And then when one client actually heard about one of the workshops I'd done, and then it was a big bank, and they said, you do this for our team, but you need to have a company for that. So that's how the company was formed. So oftentimes, the reason for forming a company is, it comes back, the dots connect only later. So now I can look back and I can see that skills were being built. And unconsciously, I was practicing my craft, learning my craft. And later it all connected back. And the company was formed out of my love for connecting numbers and words through storytelling. But would love
Wow.
to hear from you, Divya.
That's so nice to know, Debleena, because I think I totally resonate a lot with that. I started speaking on stage at the age of 3, okay, and I've always been a stage speaker, doing extempore events and debate contests and all that. And then, I think a few years back, I started. I think around my pregnancy, I started also podcasting, and the focus of the podcast was to inspire women. And then somebody in that group told me, hey, you know what? I listened to your podcast, it's all very good. Can you also do some stories for kids? Because it's so difficult to find a good quality story for kids, especially if you are like an Indian parent who's living outside India and you don't have the grandparents at home, then it's so difficult to find a good quality story. And I think then that passion for talking, for giving speeches was always there. And then this passion for culture was also there because I grew up listening to a lot of stories. And then suddenly, as you said, it just happens somehow. I think the universe kind of turns things around, and then you just set up the company like that. And that's how I think I started Monki Tox, because that need was there, and I saw the need in my own kids, and I felt that this gap is there, and that's what I started trying to solve.
Yeah, and I think it never changes, right? Like my kid is now 18. So as they grow older, the need for stories doesn't go down. It actually just keeps
Totally,
increasing. Yeah.
totally.
Yeah, no, great to hear that.
Yeah, so it was like you had already something and you connected the dots later.
Yeah.
So
I think there's no replacement for building your skills. So I think in
yeah,
both Divya and my case, I think probably
Mhm.
skills came first, right? And then the company came.
yeah.
Correct. Absolutely.
Yeah, so in both of you, the common link is storytelling, right? So, what do you think is it's like a crux of your both business is storytelling. So, why it is lot of buzz, right? Everywhere it is storytelling, art of storytelling, data storytelling. So, why do you think it is so important? And your business also revolve around that? Why do you think it's very important storytelling? Be it for kids to the corporate to everyone.
I mean, maybe I will start with this old story. When men typically went out hunting, women, in the caveman period, when we started developing language skills and all that, women used to sit around and talk stories. And that's how most of the things, even in our culture, have been passed. We don't have written scripts for everything. Most of them are like stories told from one generation to another. And research proves, there is Harvard research which shows that people tend to remember something 3 times more when told in the form of a story. And I think that ancient skill is what people now are trying to capitalize on. So it's always been there, just that we kind of like lost it in between, maybe to some extent. But it's good that we are getting that attention back and people are realizing that it could make such a big difference. And I think that's what Debleena is also playing with in an extent format in the corporate world.
Yeah, true. No, completely agree, Divya. And I think the question is very valid, Seema. I'm obviously biased because I love storytelling. But I feel, my belief is the universe is not just made of atoms, it's made of stories, right? And each one of us are, we are building stories, we are telling stories, we're living stories all the time. If you ask in this room, people attending online, we ask them to remember, something detailed which happened last week. They may not, but if you ask them to remember a story which they read or they watched, they might remember vividly, right? And I think that goes back to what Divya talked about, retention through storytelling. So you done a lot of work with, education companies on storytelling in curriculum. We've done a lot of work in storytelling, when you're talking about strategy of the company, right? And you have to percolate that to different levels of the organization. It is so hard to kind of sometimes connect the dots, especially in large organizations who have got, multiple levels of complexity. So storytelling simplifies, right? And storytelling makes it more personal, and it helps set the context in a very interesting way. And most importantly, people are able to connect with stories. That's probably what we need even more today. We are losing human touch, as more and more technology is coming in. Technology is very critical. And both Divya and I think, are product proponents of use technology. But storytelling is that one skill which is innately human, right? And I think it's always going to be that skill, right? From cave painting to 22nd century, it will remain. The shape and form might change. The stories might become shorter, and the form might change from text to video to audio, etc. But the skill will not change. And the other thing I strongly believe, is that we are all storytellers. It's not just, few of us are probably gifted and we can only be the storytellers. Each one of us is already a storyteller. It's just that some of us probably practice it more, and we build some conscious skills around it. And I feel it's a craft, it's not art, and neither is it science. It's a craft, which means that as you keep building it, it becomes more and more of a learned skill, right? So the aspect of continuous learning and storytelling is really magical. So that's how I look at it. And and to come back to your initial question, Seema, right? Why is it important today? I think the world is looking for connection and meaning even more today, right? We are drowning in data, we are drowning in information, so we're looking for meaning. And the best leaders, the best entrepreneurs are actually brilliant storytellers. That's actually again what research shows. One common skill is they are brilliant storytellers. So you have to tell an authentic, powerful story for you to connect with people and to make movements work.
Yeah, Debleena, I do agree with that because story always keeps in the memories of a people. What we speak, people don't remember. When we tell some story, it remains. So that's how I connected with Divya. Also, I was working on the same line, storytelling for kids. So it's wonderful to know that why storytelling is important, right? So you both are women entrepreneurs, and what kind of challenges you faced when you started your journey or in the journey, kind of on the business side or personal side? Because every woman, now we are here to inspire women, right? So what are those challenges you faced and how you managed? Divya, you can take
Okay,
this.
I can take the shot. Yeah. So I think one thing when I close my eyes and think about what's one challenge I faced, I remember starting my company and starting recording stories and everything. And then I got pregnant, and towards my 7th, 8th month of pregnancy, I was literally gasping. So I couldn't tell the story any longer. There was so much of air coming out of my mouth that I couldn't really complete a whole sentence. So then you realize, as a woman, it's not so easy. There is so much that happens. This is just a small example that you're pregnant and you can't do your business because the business is storytelling and you're not able to speak long sentences. So this is a very small example. But then I think this problem is actually huge. It's not just about pregnancy. It's about the commitments that women have, right? So it's also not like you can turn on and turn off your brain like a TV channel. So I'm in sports channel, switch. Now I'm watching a TV serial, switch. Now I'm watching something else. It can't happen like that. But unfortunately or fortunately, women are somehow, in a place where we have to function like that, because you're working on some important pitch deck or something and your kid comes to you running saying, Amma, can you please, remove this Lego piece and give me, I fixed it wrong. Then, I don't understand this. Let me know, where is that color, this one. So it's running a business, especially as when you have a startup, when you are responsible for everything. So you're not in a corporate setup where you have people taking care of HR taking care of everything. When you're in a startup and you're taking care of everything, plus the responsibilities that come in the family, I think it's a huge responsibility on the plate for sure. And I would say kudos to women who try to dare and take that responsibility. They really deserve a tap on the back.
Yeah, I'll add to what Divya said with a funny story and some data. So funny story first, when I was starting my company, I still remember. So my co-founder is a man, right? And he's a friend for a very long time, not my husband. And my husband is also an entrepreneur and he has his own co-founder, right? So when I went to file the papers with ROC, right? So they basically said, are you filing the papers for your husband? So this is like a small act of, unconscious bias, which, I went through, and I'm sure each, woman entrepreneur in some way or the other, in different ways, we go through this, right? Or when people don't yet take us seriously. But I honestly feel women entrepreneurs are amazing. I think the very aspect Divya mentioned of multitasking, right, is a very critical skill in entrepreneurship itself. Every day there are so many balls thrown at us, and we are naturally brilliant at it. In fact, we're probably too good at it, and we don't want to drop any ball. Sometimes we affect our own health and other things around us, but we are really good, right? I think if people don't believe us, it's their problem, and we will find believers, right? So I want to share some data here, which is very startling. We have done some research for a global general investing forum, and what we found, and this is data from some of the startup, databases, right, is that in India, women founders, right, if you look at the capital allocation, even during the good years, right, when there was a lot of capital flowing, was around 20%. But when it came to only women co-founders, that number was less than 5%. So that 15 to 18% is nothing but gender wise, right? Whereas I think women are equally good, if not better entrepreneurs. We dream big and we can build very successful, large, big companies, right? So I think first is believing in ourselves, and second is having that environment around us which supports us, which is always not possible, not very easy, and many of us struggle with that. But once we get that, then it's making other people believe in us, right? And forums like this, where maybe even if one person can take the next step, and making more co-believers and inspired people around us, I think that's probably the only way forward. But I do believe more and more women will become entrepreneurs.
Yeah, I agree,
to add to that, sorry, Seema, just one more sentence from my side. To add to that, I really believe in the power of such forums, because, in the startup world, they say it's all about networking. So it's about attending these parties, you meet up with VCs, and then, you have a small coffee talk with people. I don't know if all the women are capable of doing that. Capable in the sense, if they have the time on the plate to, travel so much, to spend late nights in those discussions and so on. And that's why forums like this play a very, very key role, because they give us this opportunity to actually network and do those coffee table discussions. And I'm very grateful for such forums, for sure.
I think there's a need for more safe networking, right? Because sometimes safety is also an issue, which unfortunately even today we face. So safe and purposeful networking is, I think, something very important.
Yeah, Debleena, I totally agree with you. When we go to anything, people look around who has come with you. Is there some man is there to support you? So I totally agree with you on that point. And also, as Divya mentioned, we are very good at multitasking. We can do 2, 3 jobs in parallel. So, moving on to the next thing I would like to know is, so you juggle between so many things, as you mentioned, right? So how do you balance it? I don't say that work-life balance, but how you are able to successfully manage, as Divya was mentioning, she was pregnant, she was not able to tell one sentence, but so far journey is very inspiring. So, I would like to ask Divya first. Divya, how did you balance? Because your app itself is so inspiring. I keep exploring your app, and it's amazing.
Thank you, Seema. So that's some free marketing for me. So thanks for that. That's what really excites a founder, So honestly, like, balancing is a kind of a question mark. So if somebody asks me, do you have work-life balance, or do how do you manage this? Honestly, you can't. Okay, you are worn out at the end of the day. You are stressed out. But it's more like Monki Tox for me. It's like my third child. Okay, so if I have to put some work on Monki Tox one night, I just feel like, okay, today one one of my children wants me at night. Sometimes kids are cranky, they don't let you sleep, they want you to have them on the shoulder all night long, because I have toddlers. So maybe Debleena, it's a long it's some years back story for you, but I also think of Monki Tox like that. So it is a demanding toddler for sure. Running a startup is, we are all building products which are like our babies at the end of the day for every product manager. So it is a demanding toddler for sure, but then at the end of the day it's your baby, so you have to be patient, and you have to have that baby on your shoulder when the baby needs. So I guess that's the way to balance, to just have it in your mind that okay, this is not stress, it's not a strain, it's for something that you're putting your heart into. I think that helps a lot to get that journey running.
Yeah, no, I think at every step we are making a choice, right? We are making a choice by becoming a mother. We're making a choice by choosing to work, and then on top of it to become an entrepreneur. These are all very hard choices. We are already making them. And all of us, have stories. I remember sleepless nights and waking up in the morning, sleeping a little bit in the car, then getting up, and then, basically going to the meeting. So we've all got stories like that. We've all faced very tough situations and, kind of somehow battle through. But I have a contrarian view. When I was working in a job, on the other hand, right, I actually felt one job is not enough. I felt I had too much time on my hands. And I felt this idea of weekend, and the fact that you are supposed to be free during weekend and you have a full-time FT kind of equivalent. I never believed in that, right? Because I felt I want to work more. How can you define, as a company, how much I should work? So I think as it is, I was a misfit in that world of, clocked time and clocked hours. So when I got to choose entrepreneurship, and partly probably also that's what made me choose this kind of world where I could set my own hours and I could work as much or as long as I wanted to. I think it was a very conscious choice, right? So I think, like again, Divya mentioned, I think the strain only comes when mentally we feel affected, right? So as long as we are really enjoying the work and we have a good team around us, I think the team is very important. Entrepreneurship is extremely lonely journey. If we try to do everything ourselves, then I think it's a huge burden, right? And nobody can do everything on their own. So I think I'm blessed with, and I'm sure Divya also is blessed with a great team, whether it's family or whether it's my team working with me. I think they are a huge support. I think it's people who really believe you and who want the team to succeed, right? I think that's the blessing, I think, which you get in life. Previous team members, I think, and you find so many strange, people coming to help you along the journey. Once you decide and, you want to do this, I think, I feel what Divya said in the beginning is true. The universe does conspire to help you. There are very tough days, no entrepreneur's journey is easy. There are really difficult days. And I think that's where that group around you, right? A group which pulls you up and is there with you during your darkest moments really helps. For me, some additional things help is humor. I have a bad habit of using humor quite often for my personal life as well as for my work. So I think humor helps you kind of go through some of these moments, and music. I sing a lot. So these two things in addition help me.
Yeah.
But I think the idea of balance doesn't exist.
Yeah. So now you are the leader for your company. You are the boss, right? As you mentioned, it is not clicking like the clock clicks and you do 9 to 5 or something, and as and when you keep doing it. So as a leader, what do you think like the core value you take and you are along with your team?
I think for me, it's very simple. I think a company initially is a reflection of the founder's story, right? And what we stand for and believe in. We start the company with that. And then as the story evolves and you have your team and you have maybe investors and stakeholders and partners and customers with you, your story evolves and becomes much bigger than you. So I think that's the journey, I have also gone through. So I think for me, authenticity is very important, right? Anybody who's working with me, do they really believe in this and do they want to do this, right? Because it's again a choice they are making. They could be in any job, but they're choosing to work with me, right? So that's authenticity is very important, and creativity, because our work is all about creativity. But at the same time, very in-depth kind of analysis skills, I think, are things which I look for, and that's the way we are building the company, because we are a very small team, but we are planning to grow very big with our product. So these skills are important for me. We don't believe in having an office, so we are on the cloud and people can be wherever they are. I think those are choices you can make as entrepreneurs. So there is no timesheet and nobody monitors time. But I think I feel if people are motivated and if the work is something they enjoy, it will happen. And if they're not motivated, even if you have n number of processes, people will find loopholes around that. So yeah, that's what I believe in. And fun. We have a lot of fun. Um, I think some of my ex-team members call my leadership style management by joking around. So yeah, half our calls start with jokes and end with jokes.
That's very inspiring, honestly. Maybe we
I'll
should.
send you some of the jokes, Divya.
Oh yeah,
I'll
yeah.
send you some of the jokes.
You should for sure. So I think I kind of like have the same idea around what drives a leader as well. I think it's the honesty and putting your heart in the right place. And you cannot build a product or a startup for money. It should be more like how important solving this problem is for you. So I might sound super cliched. So probably 2 years back, if I would have heard, I'm like, okay, probably all the startup founders are reading out from a book where they say, okay, you need to put your heart into the problem. But I really think the more and more I'm able to resonate with it, and the team, it's kind of like automatically getting built around it. So, for example, I had a lady who is like now saying stories in Malayalam. So she kind of downloaded the app when I was, doing the initial sales, and they said, okay, I have stories for kids. It's based on Indian culture and everything. So she apparently downloaded the app, and she said, okay, I see that your app does not have Malayalam stories. I am very passionate about saying stories, and my mother tongue is Malayalam. So I'm going to come into your team and say Malayalam stories. So add me to your team. So those are the kind of people, who I've got in. It's not the kind of people who are like, okay, how much money are you going to give me for every story that I say? Nobody has asked me that. So I think the parents also kind of try to understand that this is the core value, and it automatically, like a magnet, attracts the people who have the same values. And when the leader is having that value clear in the heart, in the right place, then automatically you get the right people around you. I guess that's how you build a successful team and be a successful leader.
Yeah,
I think what
absolutely.
Divya mentioned, this inbound approach is just 1 point if I can add, Seema.
Yeah, sure. Go
Yeah.
on.
So I think this inbound approach is very, very critical. We sometimes think we have to get people and we have to kind of, convince people to join us and be with us. I have seen it's the opposite, right? I think if you are authentic and if you're working with your skill and your passion, people want to join your mission. So that's happened exactly the same way with me as well. People I've worked with before, they've come back, and now, they've kind of joined hands. So I think that gives a lot of power and a lot of trust, right? Because exactly like Divya mentioned, it's not about, a paycheck. Each one of us have so many different ways to get our paycheck, right? But if you're choosing to do something so difficult, then we should enjoy it, right? Otherwise, it'll be very, very tough.
Yeah, it's very fascinating. Like it's not for money, not for paycheck, or just for a passion. You
No,
build
that'll
your
also be there. It'll come,
yeah.
right? It's very important. I
Yeah,
think so. We are
yeah.
not saying we are not going to work and not going to
Yes,
earn money.
yes.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
very important. But yeah.
yeah, I was coming to that point now. So what do you think is the biggest success for you as an entrepreneur?
Maybe I would add by saying, recalling this day like Facebook memories. Till last year, the project Monki Tox was more like it was a hobby project for me. Okay, I'm doing something. It was not even paid. Okay, so really there was no money at that time. It was just free stories. We built this app, and I said, okay, now everybody can listen to stories, and this is the app for you. Okay, it was just free for everyone. And then last year, I entered the MIT Creative Startup Contest. So this is like a very popular contest at Boston, where you have most of the people from MIT and Harvard participating. So we had around 41 teams participating. So you can understand when it is MIT and Harvard, the standard of competition is like really high. And I won the first place in that contest. And that's when I was like, oh my God, everybody sees so much value in this idea, because I think globally now everybody is understanding that you cannot whitewash all cultures with just one color, but every culture, the authenticity has to come out, and it's so important to take this to the children. And that's when I realized it was kind of like, okay, that, just flashing on my face, okay, this is so important, this project is so good, people are loving it, so please take it more seriously. And that is how I think it was the biggest win for me last year on the same day, also on April 4th. And then something that, so it was more like, okay, I won an award, and I get recognized, I'm featured on NASDAQ website and everything. But then something that really touched my heart is the feedback that I get from parents. So I got feedback from one mom who whose child, she has a visual disability. And so she told me, like, thank you so much for Monki Talks. It's become like a friend for my daughter. She's heard all the stories over 50, 60 times, and all day she just spends with Monki Talks. So this was not even a use case for us, okay? So we were like, okay, we're building the product for all the children, and then you realize you're touching the life of in a special way for a child. It made me really emotional. And the same thing when I heard from a psychiatrist, so she was recommending, so we have a sleep music in the app, maybe you've checked it out. It's based on the Indian ragas. We've specially composed based on the Indian ragas. So she had recommended this to some of her parents of the neurodivergent children. And the parents reported that this really helped the children relax and sleep much better. So these were use cases even we did not think about when we started building. And when you get that kind of feedback, it really makes you feel like, okay, I'm doing something good, and there is some good in this. So that's my win, I would say.
Yeah, I think my starting point is similar. I didn't think it was a company. I was building my own skill, right? And my first client is the one who said, that I'm giving you this big project and you need to build with the company. So that was my first moment of truth, that maybe there is something which I've developed, which other people want me to do, right? And develop. And even post that, I had not invested in even building a website or reaching out to people. Till today, we don't really have a sales team. So it's been all referrals, right? So one client referring the next client, referring the next client. I think that for us has been the biggest, I would say, same going back to the inbound life, right? It's given us time to really figure out what we mean when we say data storytelling, what we really mean when it's simplicity with storytelling, why we were able to build our product. It's all based on, working with clients very deeply, getting their feedback and being able to incorporate that. So I think that's what I would place the highest, because finally we are solving client problems by doing what we're doing. And the other part is it gave me confidence to also explore my own original storytelling. So I started writing books, and I started also writing for ET. So I've been writing for ET 6 years now, and I wrote, about 5 books, and I write a book every year. And the books, being published and getting good feedback, and then a couple of them being selected for, digital adaptation, was another moment, where I felt that maybe it's not just about helping the brand tell the narrative, but also it's about the original storytelling which I can develop, and that can go back as skill, to my company and to my team. I think that again for me was personally very satisfying, right? So these two things.
Yeah, it's amazing. Like you started, like as you are saying, like it started with award winning for Divya, and it started with original storytelling for you, Debleena. So now you started with like people like your inner circle, and then it moved on. So now what's your approach, or how are you expanding your products? Like who are your users, or how do you approach them now for an expansion of this business?
So our product right now is focused on Indian culture, but of course we can replicate it for any other culture. So for example, if there is a need in Arabic culture, we have this platform ready, which we want to customize in a culture specific way to different cultures. So our target audience is generally families with children, and it could be a grandparent who is like, having the child across, in the evening babysitting, or the parent themselves. So it's like families with children who want to have an Indian cultural touch to their parenting. And now we are evolving as an Indian cultural parenting partner for them, because we are giving a plethora of options, not just stories, but also so if they want to have some Indian cultural oriented games or classes, where somebody is looking for shloka classes, but they don't know where to search for it. So all these, and there is a very nice lady who's teaching shlokas in a beautiful way. So we want to have this as a platform to connect these people as well. So we are evolving into a complete Indian cultural parenting partner, and now we are reaching out to people mostly through online. Influencers have been playing a very important role, because they bring that authenticity into the whole picture. They're trying it out for their children, and they're making their genuine recommendations. And of course, social media ads are also helping us a lot. So that is how we are kind of reaching out to people. And I've also started now live storytelling sessions. So the storytelling sessions are also based on Indian cultural stories, and here the audience get to have a taste of what's going on, and that's kind of then funneling them through to the product. So this is what we're working on right now.
Yeah, I'll take a minute. So there are four things which we do. So we look at storytelling as, applications across a company's growth cycle, right? So for initial companies, as they are setting up their company, the narrative, and the investment deck is very important. So we help them with that, with our product. So that's startups, right? And as they grow even bigger and they want to transform or, have an AI product or AI strategy, again, that narrative is important. So this is all the CXO, the chief strategy officer, who's our customer there. Then we do workshops because right now a lot of people want to train their teams on becoming better storytellers. So that's where our data storytelling, mindfulness of storytelling, leadership storytelling, AI, kind of and storytelling. These are, they are aimed at different groups of people in organizations and large companies, global banks, consulting companies. There are customers there. And for the last one, currently what we're doing is also working with mid-sized companies and doing original content for them. So they might be having a marketing automation tool, etc., but like we said in the beginning, they need very original content in their authentic voice. So we do a lot of that work, developing detailed white papers, data driven reports, narratives, podcasts, etc. And all of this is being now funneled through a product, which people can customize and think of it almost like Lego blocks, right? Based on the outputs people are trying to create, they can actually use our structure to customize and create their own pathways. So this, the last part which I'm mentioning, our focus is global because we feel this is not just for India. This is a global kind of application, and therefore broadly SMEs globally are our target audience for this. But like I mentioned, so far a lot of our work has come in through two ways. One is inbound, referrals completely. Another one is actually very strange. So whenever, like Divya mentioned, whenever I wrote something, and I write quite a lot, whether it's LinkedIn or other forums, or when I speak somewhere, sometimes those are places where people hear and they find something connecting, right? When you say something or you speak something, and a very authentic connection happens. Then when people reach out, I've seen it's a far better, you can call it conversion or you can call it, connect that happens. So I think so far it's been that, but of course, as we grow bigger, we have to, explore the traditional marketing channels. So we will do that. Our website just went live. So I think some of those things also we'll do. But yeah, we are very much, though we are storytellers, we are not very much, in your face, right? So we prefer it to be more subtle and let people come to us if they think what we're doing is worthwhile for them.
Yeah, it's interesting people reaching out to you because there are a lot of strategies like how to reach people, how to convert these customers, retention, all that. There are so much, right? But
Yeah,
for
I
you,
feel it's
you
the
like,
other way. Let people come
yeah.
to you. If they like working with you, they will work with you.
Yeah, it's very amazing, Debleena. Like people come to you, you write, and they will connect with you. Are there any like situations or something like right? You are entrepreneur, and you also might be looking at the social impact. So whatever you are doing, what's the impact on the community? So are there anything like you would like to share on something happened and you felt wow, this is what I was looking for?
Go ahead, Divya.
Okay. So I think with our case, when I started, I was kind of the only person, and then we started building with a small team. And when I wanted to have other storytellers, we said, okay, this is going to be a cloud company, same as what Debleena had mentioned. And everybody is like worldwide. We have storytellers in Malaysia, we have storytellers sitting in the US. So it's really worldwide. And most of them are actually stay-at-home moms. Okay. So these moms were having a career, and now they're probably on a career break, or then they decided to not continue their corporate career any longer. And most of them were really seeking some kind of platform to share their voice. And then when I put out the advertisement for, okay, you can work at your convenience and you're just telling out stories for children, so many of them were interested because this is exactly what they're doing at home, telling stories for their children. So this has helped me to empower a lot of moms. And sometimes when I hear a good audio and I say, hey, this audio was so good, it really made me, get tears in my eyes. And they'll be like, oh my God, thank you. I've been having such a low week, and this really helps me to feel much better. So there are this stay-at-home mom population is a huge talent, okay? And it really needs flexible working and also companies which can bring out their creativity in a softer way. This can definitely, help a whole huge economy pop out of this population because they're so talented. And something here that I feel is very important is that having that inclusiveness wherever possible. Even though we are a startup, we don't have to wait for doing some kind of CSR activity to get to all the people. We can put them wherever possible. So our sleep music, it was completely orchestrated, and many of the musicians there are actually virtually having virtual difficulties, and they're so talented, you don't even recognize. Okay, they're so good. So wherever it is possible, trying to use those people who don't have a platform for themselves, I think that makes a huge difference. And when one time, one of my first employees, she sent me a screenshot of a cinema ticket, and she said, today I'm sending my parents to a movie because that's the first money that I have earned. And with my money, I gifted 2 movie tickets to the parents. It's like 500, 600 rupees. But then that is so important for a lady. Then you can imagine how much how much of a change this kind of an employment opportunity is creating. And also maybe because we are a women forum, I'll take one more minute to add on to another topic. One of the employees that I have, okay, so she told me once that in the past, I used to be so bored that I used to write ABCD 20, 30 times. Okay, I was so shocked, and even now as I say it, I'm getting very emotional, because you can imagine there is this very talented lady who is pushing through school and college, getting all the high scores, and then due to some situation, she is like, somewhere stuck in a social situation, and then she has nothing to do. She's so bored that she's writing ABCD to kill her time. So this is a population, guys. There is this huge talent of women which we really need to tap, and nothing like if startups are able to do something for them, I think it would be a big social role that we are playing. And I'm sorry, every time I say this, I really kind of get emotional.
Yeah, no, I think completely agree with you, Divya. I think 2, 3 things which I would like to add. One is, when I was working in impact investment, right? We were investing in companies, right, which were doing social impact work, education, healthcare, etc. And I worked in 2 such funds. And at that time, I felt that storytelling should be easy, right? Because here you're solving such a large social problem which everybody needs a solution for, right? Whether it's education for kids or healthcare for everyone. But the biggest realization I had was storytelling is even tougher here, because people don't sometimes even believe the problem can be solved. So there's a lot of lack of belief. It is very hard because your stakeholders are not a single stakeholder. You have multiple stakeholders. The change takes many, many years to actually affect. Money is often not that easy to get because you don't probably you may not be able to show impact as quickly as you can with some of the other, mainstream kind of products. So all these were issues I saw when I was on the investment side. Now, as an entrepreneur, when I set up Kahaniyah, therefore, one of my big focus areas was to help social entrepreneurs with their storytelling needs, having seen that. And I think last few years, we've been actually able to do that, right? So, for example, there's a governance consulting client, and they do a lot of pioneering work with state governments in implementing national and state level programs. So telling their story, how can they actually show the impact with data, with numbers, with emotion, or an agricultural startup, right, which is trying to really do some work in the grassroots, right, and not finding it very easy to convince very large investors. Many of them are in small towns, just like Divya mentioned about one excluded population of women who are educated but maybe not getting the right access to jobs and their talent should be explored. What I have seen is, people who may not come from the best academic so-called institutions, but who have so much passion and they have skills, right? And they are entrepreneurs. Same problem there. Nobody is listening to their stories, right? And a lot of work I've done last few years is to actually help them develop the narratives, help them make the investment decks as sharp as somebody from an IITIM can do. And that personally, when they actually grow, that gives me a lot of satisfaction. And they're in touch and they share their stories and their growth journeys. I think that gives me huge satisfaction, right? And also, I think storytelling for curriculum development. We've done such really interesting work. For example, one we had done was for out of school kids, kids who will never continue in school. But they can't read a lot of text. But how to ensure their curriculum is very simple, 20-minute modules using stories. So that's something we developed, which again I feel was very, very very personally satisfying.
Yeah, so as Divya mentioned, it's global. Currently, now we are global. You both are sitting in Japan, and Divya is in Germany, and we all are talking from Bangalore. So it's worldwide impact. What you spoke about making impact wherever it is. So where do you see next in your product, or what kind of innovations, or what is the future for your products now?
So I think we have a hypothesis. What we feel is, with more and more generative AI, coming into mainstream, and a lot of companies are exploring, they are figuring out, they are wondering, they are confused. The need for original content will only go higher, right? Anybody can give a prompt to generative AI, but more and more we do that, more and more copycat content will be churned out, right? And it'll go through its own cycle. And after a period, the kind of work which Divya is doing or which I am doing, which is focused on original content, will become again a very big premium. So we are building for that future, right? So it'll take some time. So we have some immediate believers, and other people might believe, they might go through a cycle and then become believers, but that is there, so that's the world we are building for. So the product which we have is actually meant for that, right? Before you start developing a story, there's a lot of work to be done on story structure, on crafting a story, on the science of storytelling, which often doesn't get talked about. So a lot of research I have done last 6 years has been around that. And all the work I've done with my clients and partners has really taught me that. So that's what we're now bringing in our product. And we are, bringing it to, again, the audience I felt was shared earlier was excluded. So mid-sized companies, SMEs, right, which is a large population globally, we want to bring this to them. So we are trying to democratize storytelling so that they are able to afford a large strategy team, a large marketing team, a large analytics team, and they'll get all of this through the product. So that's our goal, and that's really the segment we want to really help through our skills and our product.
So I completely resonate with the original content, right? So as a small example, if you are looking at a child story, so many of you probably have read it in your childhood or reading it out to your children. If you ask them to draw a demon, so or illustrate a demon, the first thing would be a dark-skinned person with all curly hair, long teeth, and everything. So this is like literally body shaming. But this is what we have grown up with, okay? And now when your children are like living in a very diverse society, it is very important to teach them not to judge a person by the looks of the person. So on one side, we moms and dads are very focused on teaching the right things to the children, and then on the other side, if you're just going to generate something with an AI and or just Google for a demon, it's going to be a dark skinned person with curly hairs and long teeth. So this is where you need people to actually put that authenticity there and say, okay, a demon is a bad person, bad at heart, and that's it. It has nothing to do with how they appear or anything. And I think this kind of nuance doesn't just work like, taking something from chat GPT. So I kind of go with that there. And for us, the next big step is on April 14th, we are giving our app a complete UI UX revamp. And here also we've used a woman entrepreneur who is like, she's having a startup. She's working part-time on her startup with a UI UX company. And now we've partnered with her, and now we're giving a complete UI UX revamp on April 14th. So it's a big day for us. And we're trying to structure more products and classes that will help, recognize other women entrepreneurs also. So right now we have a lot of women who publish a book, for example, and when they sell the book on Amazon, after all the process, so you have to write, illustrate, print, do all the logistics, and finally the profit that you make is 5 rupees, okay, on Amazon. When you sell, it's like 5 rupees or 10 rupees, not more than that, with all the cuts that goes here and there. So we want to give the platform for these kind of people to actually put in more of their authentic stuff on our platform, so we can get it through to the right parents who are interested in these topics. So it's going to be big for us on April 14th.
Yeah, this is interesting, Divya, that being original, just ChatGPT came in and we can make versions, but original remains the original one. So the final thing what I would like to ask both of you is, like you mentioned, there are a lot of women who want to become an entrepreneur, but there is no steps, or they don't know how to start, or from where to start. And also, Debleena mentioned there are many people, women speak about it, but there is no pathway to start. So, what's your advice, or what's your like important things you would like to share to become a women entrepreneurs?
I think for me personally, I feel each woman who's attending is either already or potentially an entrepreneur, right? So I think it's about two things I feel. One is, the skill, right? I mean, I firmly believe in today's day and world and the way jobs are moving, um, the multi-dimensional skills, right? So if you can look at a problem from two different angles or three different angles, you might be an engineer, like Divya, but you also have an interest in storytelling, in culture. That gives Divya the edge, right? Or for me, for example, I've done statistics and finance, but I also write well. So that, multi-collinearity of skills is what gives us our edge. So I think instead of being too focused on only one area, I would say, reading and researching and, finding those points of commonality across different fields will give us what we really think is our skill. I'm not talking about passion, right? We may be passionate about something that may not become our entrepreneurial venture. That might be something we do just for our hobby. But skill is something we develop, we learn, we practice, and we are so good at it that people want to pay us, right? We stand out in that because in entrepreneurship we have to stand out, there is no middle path. So that's the first thing I feel, building that is very important. A lot of people, want to become an entrepreneur very early, and they might become also, successful very early, but the skill building takes time. So I think that's the second part. There is no easy overnight success. I think it takes time, and each one of us will do it in our own time. Somebody might do it at 25, somebody might do it at 50. There is no, universal timeline. I think each one of us will create our own timeline as long as we take care of our health. So that's the third thing. I think we sometimes don't take care of our health because there's so much on our plates and we multitask so much. So I think taking care of ourselves. I think those three things, and I feel then finding an environment which will support you and help you grow.
So maybe I'll also add a couple of aspects here. So also there was a question in the chat: how do you convert your skill to a business? So I think it cannot be that you're sitting inside a closed room for a weekend and saying, okay, now I have to come out with a startup idea and now somehow make money. Unfortunately, it doesn't work like that. So most of the times it is like there is a problem. Probably you are part of that problem in one way or the other, and then you try to solve that problem. So most of the successful startups have popped up like that. And of course there are some startups who are like, that is a very successful idea, and you kind of copy that idea, fix what are all the mistakes in that idea, and you develop a better version of the product. That could also be possible. And if that is aligning with your core skill set, then nothing like it. Then you are literally ruling the space, I would say. And to the question about what you would like to share to the women, I think sometimes, often, at least I have often got asked from third circle of people that, why do you want to do all this? Is it all necessary? These kind of questions. And I think women often face this. So when we have kids, people think that, okay, why do you want to do all this? Why do you want a career? Why do you want to do this and that? Why can't you just keep quiet and be satisfied with what you have? I think this question often comes to us and we're already like drowning in mom guilt sometimes, and it really doesn't motivate, right? So if you're not finding yourself the right motivation, don't allow the people who are demotivating you to actually rule your life. Try to associate yourself with the right kind of people who bring in the right kind of energy, and that is very important if you want to go somewhere in life. So I think that is what I would tell women: pick the right battles, have the right kind of people around you, and that is going to be surely very helpful.
And if I can add one point, connected to what Divya said, nobody else can decide, the growth milestone of our startup but us, right? So all these news about, unicorns, we have seen, right? Many of them were overfunded and probably they hadn't yet got product market fit. So it's not about raising money. It's not about having the most funded startup. It's not about, being on, some of these shows which, help you probably get marketing for your startup. It's really about solving a problem you truly well, deeply believe in, and you have the skills to do that with your team, of course. And the size can vary depending on your ambition, right? So somebody might be very small with a small startup of 5 people. Somebody might want to build a 100 crore company. Somebody might want to build the biggest company the world has seen. I think it's all based on our ambition and our plan. There is no right or wrong in the scale question.
Yeah. Thank you, Debleena. Thank you, Divya. It was wonderful talking to you. I think we have some questions coming up. Harleen, if you have any, you can see that you can take.
for that amazing conversation. Okay, I think we have answered one question that was put forward by Shweta. I think Divya addressed that. How do you, start your business? How do you
Convert a
utilize your
skill
skills to start a
business.
business? Yeah. Okay, we have another one from RJ who has asked, what innovative features does your storytelling app offer to captivate and educate young audiences, setting it apart from other children's apps in the market? I think that is directed at Divya.
Yeah, so I think here again I would
I
come
think
back
while
to the
Divya answers, I'll just take your leave. Thank you so much.
Okay.
thank you,
Thank you so much.
Debleena. It was amazing
Yeah.
sharing the stage with you.
Thank you.
It
Thank you so
really
much.
was. Thank you, Debleena. It's been a complete pleasure having you here with us. Before you leave, we'd like to present this certificate of appreciation from our end for giving us your valuable time and insights. The QR code on this certificate would actually take you to a Hall of Fame page created especially for you. I will share it across with you later. Yeah,
Yeah,
thank you so
thank
much
you
for
so much.
joining us.
Thank you so much, everybody. Thank you for all the people who joined, and thank you so much, Divya. Great meeting with you.
Same here, Debleena. We should stay in touch.
Yeah, we
Take care.
Great. Thank you, Debleena. Okay.
So
I
coming
think
back to
Divya
the
can go ahead. Yeah.
question, yeah. So I think it's about original content. So there are a lot of kids apps I know, and most of the time, if you see, there is one story that is just like getting copied from one place to another, and people go on and on about it. What we are actually doing is also connecting the cultural aspect to a contemporary takeaway value. So, for example, the holy story we present it in a way that Radha and Krishna were applying colors on each other because he was feeling sad about his skin color, and now both of them were looking very colorful and very pretty. So skin color has nothing to do with friendship. So this is then a moral that we then say, hey kids, now what did you learn from this story? Skin color has nothing to do with friendship. Your friends can be from different origins, they can have different skin color, but the friendship is the most important takeaway. I think this is what is missing. So most of the time when people start talking about cultural aspects, they talk as if it's like something that was very very long time ago, some many centuries back, and then you're just listening to the story and just you're putting it behind you. But there are a lot of values that you can take from there and relate to the contemporary life, and this is what we are focusing on. And of course, this is a very safe platform. You're not bombarded by any random advertisements, and I as a mom know that you just cannot give an electronic device to your child. Even YouTube Kids is not safe and say, okay, now 1 hour you can watch whatever. But in Monki Talks, that's not the case. 1 hour, 2 hours, we know the content is 100% child safe, so they can trust the child and give the product to the child. That's the difference.
Okay, great. Thanks for that answer. I think we have another question. Could you please make me understand unique value proposition of Monki Talks when compared to Kuku FM, Epic, etc.?
Yeah, so I think I kind of like addressed a few of the topics there. For example, most of the things that are addressed in these kind of apps is that it has a story. Probably there is an author who wrote a book and they're reading out from the book in form of an audio, right? But that's not our case. We are putting our efforts into making this content very original. Of course, Ramayana and Mahabharata are still the same. We are not writing the Ramayana or Mahabharata, but we are taking a topic from the Ramayana. So, for example, I do this Sundarakandam very often. So there is this part of Sundarakanda where Hanuman jumps over the ocean, right? So kids really love that story. So what happens is, when before he has to jump, he's like very nervous and he's like, okay, can I do it? I've never done such a big jump. How can I manage this and so on? And then his friends, they start telling him, hey Hanuman, you're so strong. If you cannot do it, then who can do it? They start giving him that confidence. So then here, I pause and say, hey kids, you know what? When you surround yourself with the right kind of friends, they'll recognize your talent, they'll push you, and they'll say, okay, you can do it. And that's how you become an achiever. But if you have the bad kind of friends who are like, hey, no, you can't do it, you're not even fit to do that, then you cannot do, right? So I think this addition is something which is very special to Monki Talk. So it's not like, okay, I'm listening to the Ramayana and I'm going to sleep, but okay, there is something that Hanuman did that I can relate to, and when I pick my friends, I pick the right kind of people. So you take it to your real life, and I think that's the difference that we make.
Okay, that's very interesting. I think in that aspect, it's not only about, like, say, in that story, it's not only about surrounding yourself with the right friends, it's also about being a good friend yourself. So it's twofold
Totally,
model. Yeah, that's
totally.
okay. We have a couple of questions from our other social media sites.
Sure.
Kritika has asked, okay, I think this is aimed at you because she's saying you talked about facing issues with your business during your pregnancy. How did you get through that phase? Because it's hard to have that balance between personal and professional life. How did you
Yeah.
get through that phase? I think is the question, because I think you already touched upon work life balance. Yeah.
Right. So I think it was hard. I had to kind of completely depend on my team for a few months, and the whole storytelling was being done by them. I had to pause the stuff that I was supposed to do, and I had to redistribute it because it was very impossible for me to run the show at that time. And of course, I had a big support from my husband and my mom in taking care of my toddler and my newborn. So the support from the family plays a very important role, and I think for women it's very important, right? The kind of support you get from your family, and the family that doesn't say like, okay, why do you need to do all this, just sit and take care of the child. So I think that social mindset, if the family doesn't have, it's really helping.
I think that ties back to what Debleena had mentioned earlier about, so having the right environment, a supportive environment to, yeah. Okay, great. Thank you. Sheena has asked, was being your own boss a hard transition from being an employee?
So yes, I think being an employee, I'm still an employee. So it is two different things for sure. But even in my job, being a leader, it's so important to have a watch of what each and every word that you're saying, because if you talk something negative, it's gonna spoil the atmosphere for the whole set of people. So you're responsible for them. So that pressure, definitely I feel it now. So I don't think I had this like 5 years back. I could sit in a meeting and say, okay, that presentation doesn't make any sense to me. There is a spelling mistake here. There is something there. You can say that very easily. But when you are in that leadership position, you have to make sure that every word you say does not disappoint the person. It motivates them. You say the feedback in a right way, and you keep the team very high in energy. So I think that's a difference in from being an employee to a leader, whether you're in your own startup or you're leading a team or whatever. That's the difference, I think.
Okay, that's great. Thank you, Divya. We have another question from Priya, who has asked, I think this is also aimed specifically to you. How is it to go back to college after being a professional for so many years? I mean, I think pursuing higher education after, working. Yeah.
Okay, so the course that I do at MIT is for executives. So there
Okay.
are like everybody in my class is an executive. So with somewhere between 8 years to up to 20 years of experience. So the average experience is like 12, 13 years. So we have CEOs as well who are like really experienced, and also some analysts and business analysts and product managers, junior managers who want to also pep up their career. And I love my course at MIT because they understand that people are working, and they understand that they kind of make this course in such a way that you can apply it to your real life and go about it. So if you're looking at picking up a course after work of 10 years or so, it is challenging for sure, but it's very worth if you find out a course that is aligned to your day-to-day life. So if you're able to learn something and bring that learning into your job, nothing like it. So you can try that out, and if there is a change strategy you're learning about, try to bring that to your job and put it and see, okay, does it make sense or not? And that's probably your feedback. You can go back to your professor and say it worked, or sometimes you can go back and say, no, I mean, what are you teaching, it doesn't work for me. Then probably you learn from the professor what else can be done. So that makes
Yeah.
it much more interactive. But if you're looking at like just learning some book by heart and writing exams, it's very difficult. Trust me, it's so tough. Yeah.
So you're saying the key aspect here is that the fact that it's an executive education course.
Yes. Yes.
So it's catered for professionals like you to help
Totally.
validate.
Totally. Yes,
Okay,
at
of
least that's
course.
what worked for me. Yeah.
Yeah, okay, that's great. We have another question from Rishka, but I think this is maybe directed towards Debleena, as Debleena talked about referrals. But I'll just shoot it out if you would like to answer it. Business running by referrals, how much can we depend on word of mouth for business in today's age?
I think yes, maybe this was directed to Debleena. I think this is very case by case. So if
Yeah.
somebody, for example, for Debleena, because it's like one project, but that's a huge project, then yes, word of mouth, and then you're doing 4 or 5 projects per year, and all the projects are huge. That's a completely different ball game. For
Yeah.
me, I need to have thousands of customers if I have to
Yeah.
break even and get my profit
Mhm.
and keep running my business. So here, word of mouth alone might not be sufficient, though
Mhm.
it's very impactful. And some your friend is telling you something, and of course you want to try it out immediately. But that might not be the only thing that is sufficient. So I guess here we have to go case by case for sure.
Of course. We have another question. I think that's the final question we have
Mhm.
for today. It's again from RJ, who has asked, could you elaborate on the impact you envision your storytelling app having on children's creativity, imagination, and overall development? That's a very interesting question.
Yeah, so I think why we need stories is for children to be more imaginative. So if you're showing them a cartoon and you tell them, okay, there's a mountain, in the cartoon there's a mountain, there's a dog running on the mountain, there's a tree. Instead, you tell them as a story. There is no visual, there is only audio, and you say, okay, imagine a mountain. So one child will imagine a blue mountain, another child will imagine a mountain with snow, and one child will imagine one kind of tree, another kid will imagine another kind of tree. So I think this imagination is what activates all your brain cells. And if you have somebody who's imagined everything for you, put it in front of you like a cartoon, you're just sitting and watching, that's not helping your brain. So I think that's why audio stories are very important for children. And what we want to do through highlighting the cultural aspect is that to understand that your culture is also good. But now what happens is, you are watching a TV show, and all the TV shows are like showing the mom dressed in a particular way, and the mom is only baking cookies all the time. But you probably then kind of feel like, okay, but my mom makes only idli sambar, and that's not as passionate as making cookies. But if you have a story that says, okay, that mom made this kind of idli, the next time when your mom makes idli, you're also interested to see, okay, what that idli, and you resonate with the story. So that's why the cultural aspect is important, to make the children feel comfortable in their shoes and not just compare their skin tone or their eating habits with a Western culture, which is like whitewashed globally. And then you come kind of saying, okay, I'm an inferior because I'm not doing that. So that is the kind of thing that shouldn't happen. And worldwide, there is a lot of focus going on in this direction. And that's what we are also tapping.
Of course, I think westernization has caused that, and it is important for cultural representation in media.
Totally, totally.
Yeah. Okay, great. I think that winds up the questions for today. Um, so just give me a second. I would like to thank you also for giving us your time and insights, and having this conversation with Seema and Debleena. It's been very insightful. The QR
Thank
code
you.
on your certificate will also take you to a dedicated Hall of Fame page that's been created especially for you. So thank you
Thank
for being here. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Harleen, and thank you to all the listeners on the various platforms. It was a great opportunity, and I wish you all the very best in your journeys, and stay empowered. And the success is going to be yours very soon. All the best.
That's great advice. Thank you, Divya. Before we
Thank you.
go, the time has come for you to speak. I mean, choose the best asked question in today's session. So some of them are on Zoom, as you can see, and somewhere I had read out to you. So if you'd like me to repeat them again, you can tell me, or if you want
So
to choose one.
personally, like the question about pregnancy, because I
Okay.
think that's kind of a very important aspect in every
Mhm.
woman's life, and it's a
Yeah.
life-turning one for sure. So I think to note that, and to because it was just one part of the conversation, but to note that and ask a question kind of shows how important it is for women. So I would like to honor that person with the award.
All right, that was asked by Kritika on Facebook. So congratulations, Kritika. You won the best asked question for today's session. I'll get in touch with you via email to take the next steps for you to be able to access your course. Thanks, Divya, for choosing the best asked question.
Thank you, and congrats, Kritika.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Seema, as well, for joining and facilitating and driving the conversation. It was great
Thank
to
you so
have you
much.
with us.
Yeah, thank you so much for the opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you. As mentioned before, the most exciting element of this entire summit will be our in person conference that is taking place on this Sunday. The summit promises to be an enriching day that will create a limelight for these wonderful women to share their journeys and impart their insights, and to provide us all with a platform to collectively learn and grow and network with like minded people. Join us to hear from these and many more inspirational women on this Sunday at CMRIT. Make sure to register and secure your spot before all the seats at our limited capacity event fill up. Okay, I want to finally thank all our attendees for being here and joining us today. I'm sure you've all had a fruitful time at this session. I'll wait here for a couple of seconds so that you can go ahead and scan the QR code that's on your screens to leave any reviews, feedback, or queries. I'll wait here for a couple of seconds. We'd love to hear about your experience at today's session. So please go ahead and scan this code and leave any just leave a little note with how today's experience was for you, right? That would be good to hear and share with our speakers as well. All right, then, that brings us to a close for today. It's been a pleasure having you all with us here today, and I look forward to hosting you at the in person conference this Sunday. On that note, I'll end today's session. Thank you, everyone. Have a good rest of the evening.
Thank you. Bye, everybody.